Hello there, it's me, two cats. You know, some days they just won't talk to me at all, and some days they just have to be absolutely all over me. Anyway, alright, if I can get my laptop. I have an email here from Melissa. It's quite a long one, so let's get started. I wondered if you wouldn't mind addressing an issue I feel like I'm having. That is, I'm not sure if I'm feeling extreme hunger yet. Mind you, I did a rough equation last night of what I've been consuming, and I don't think I'm anywhere close to where I need to be. But I'm trying to work up to it. From your personal and professional experience, when does extreme hunger tend to kick in? I know in a previous blog post you estimated that 75% of your clients tend to experience it. And to be honest, I kind of want it so that I can eat more foods. I enjoy that I'm giving myself permission to, but I honestly feel super full when I go to bed. And last night, for example, I decided that I was more brain tired than hungry, and I just went to bed. So that's the end of one paragraph. Well, I'll just talk about that bit stinky for now. I think that that's just a rough estimate, 75%, but it's kind of my way of saying I think that quite a lot of people in recovery from eating disorders get extreme hunger, and I do think though that 100% of people have extreme hunger in the form of mental hunger. Some of us that then also transcribes into physical hunger. What happens then is it really feels like you're eating all this food and you can't get full, which is a blessing and a curse, but more of a blessing than anything else because it gets you all the way to recovery in the end, right? So I'm going to take a wild guess here, Melissa, and say that you probably have mental hunger, which may be your version of extreme hunger, because the mental hunger is like you're thinking about food the whole time. So in a sense, that is extreme hunger. So you should be trying your best to follow through to that mental hunger. I'm also probably going to guess that although you say that you feel super full, I think that sometimes many of us exaggerate what super full is. And we feel a little bit full, and we tell ourselves like, oh my god, that was so much food and I'm super full, when really, you could probably eat some more. Anyway, so on to the second paragraph. A sideline issue is I have noticed that my brain is now even more obsessed with food since I've started eating more, and despite extensive research on your site and others, I don't really know if this is mental hunger or not, because I was thinking about food the whole time before anyway. Yes, sweetie, that's mental hunger. So I think I very clearly state on my blog, in my book, and just about anything else, that if you're thinking about food, it doesn't matter what context you're thinking about food in, that's mental hunger. Not quite sure how I can make it clearer than that. So, your brain is more obsessed with food since you've been eating more. Totally normal. That's mental hunger. That's your brain going like, shit, there's obviously more food in the environment, so I need to eat more because it's available. Whereas when your brain was like, well, there's no food here anyway, so what's the point in having like extreme mental hunger? I may as well just have like semi-extreme mental hunger because there's probably not enough food here to eat anyway. You start eating more and your brain's like, there's more food, more mental hunger. It's just trying to tell you to eat more. Really simple. But I've definitely noticed an increase in their intensity. I think you're talking about the thoughts there. I keep interrupting, sorry. I've definitely noticed an increase in their intensity now that I'm challenging food fears daily, often multiple times. Is this common in your experience also? Yes. Could it be mental hunger? Yes. How are you able to differentiate between your brain thinking about food and planning not to restrict, even though you are physically full all the time? I don't really understand that question. If you're thinking about food, that's mental hunger. If you're planning not to restrict, that's also thinking about food, that's mental hunger. If you're planning to restrict, that's also thinking about food, that's mental hunger. If you're having any thoughts that involve food, that's mental hunger. I feel like I've had anorexia for so long, it's sometimes hard to tell what part of my brain is me and what part of it is the entrenched eating disorder. I know that I've only been doing this for a measly 2-ish weeks, but I'm a bit gung-ho once I decide to do things, and knowing that I've given 100% could be the strong perfectionistic element of the eating disorder, but now I'm using it as an ally. Well, that's good news. That's smart. So the problem is, though, with this whole perfectionistic thing, is that you can start to think that there are methods and rules and all of these things that are crucial that you have to do it this way and follow, And the reality is you're in an organism. Everybody's body is different. I can tell you some things that I know are, throughout all people with restrictive eating disorders, really crucial to recovery. Eating without restriction, responding to mental hunger, not doing your OCD stuff, not doing the compulsive exercise. And this is the stuff that I strongly message about the whole time. But there's also, it's like I can see within that email, Melissa, that you've got a little bit too kind of like obsessed with this concept of mental hunger and what's the right or wrong here. And it's really a lot easier than that. So people with eating disorders, yes, do tend to go 100% into something once they do it and want to do it really well. Another thing that people with eating disorders tend to do is completely overthink everything and make everything a lot more complicated than it needs to be, especially if it pertains to food and exercise and recovery. And that's what's going on. That's what I can see a lot in this email. It's just like, is this mental hunger or not? And now I'm going to sit here for ages and try and analyze mental hunger. And I need a real answer for this. So I'm going to look it up on the internet and I'm going to watch more videos and I'm going to read more stuff because I don't know if this is mental hunger or not. When really, all you need to do is like, I'm thinking about food, so I should go and eat something. It's really that simple. So be careful about making recovery more complicated than it is. Be careful about overthinking things like mental hunger. It's really, really easy. You're thinking about food, you eat food. So, for example, I know, the reason that I know this to be true is because I used to think about food the whole fucking time when I had an eating disorder and when I was restricting. I really don't think about food a lot now. Like, I know when I'm hungry, but it's more just like, I'm hungry, I need to go and eat something. And then I just grab whatever's the first thing I can get at, the easiest thing I can meet, and I shove it down my gob, and then I'm off thinking about horses or clients or something else again until it's time to eat again. And I'll be like, hungry, I want a snack. Grab a load of crisps and a chocolate bar, shove it down my throat, and then I go, my brain's thinking about something else. So it's very, very different from when I was restricting, where at the back of my mind, or right at the front of my mind most of the time, I was just thinking about food, I was planning food. And like you said, sometimes you could be planning restriction, sometimes you could be planning not restriction. Planning exercise is also mental hunger because all of these things all lead back to when am I going to get to eat. And if your brain is still thinking about food, it's because it wants food. And that's the simplest definition that you need of mental hunger. If you're thinking about food, get the fuck up and go and eat something. And then sit the fuck back down again because you've got to rest too. Got it?